Hello, today we will see how to manage multiple languages in Next.js, and that's what we will build today. So first we have a main page with a simple hello world and a link here in English, in French or in Dutch. And when we click here, we can see we have a contact form with actually each label is in its own language, but it's the same for every language. But you can see the submit button changes, and cherry on the cake, now you can see the error is in French. And when I set to English, the error is in English. And when I set to Dutch, the error is in Dutch. So that's what we will be building today. Okay, so let's begin by creating a simple Next.js 15 app. So now the first step is done. Now let's go to the second step, which is follow the tutorial on the website. So we are going to use this plugin, Next.js, and we will just follow the tutorial step by step. We are going to use app router since it's Next.js 15. Let's click it. And now we have two choices, and I will explain you each choice and why we need to choose the routing. So without routing, it's just a cookie in your browser, so you don't have to handle the middleware, etc. So basically, it's actually simpler to do that, but it's not a good idea because it's not good for SEO. For example, for Google, let's say your contact page, for example, it will have the same URL in French or in English, and we don't want that. We want to have one URL for each language in order to index it. So we will choose with routing, and I personally prefer to have the language in the URL like that /en/about instead of in the prefix, because personally I don't like to have something before my website name. So I don't choose this, but you can choose this if you prefer. Just follow the tutorial, and I will just follow this tutorial because I prefer it and I think it's better for SEO. So let's begin by just installing this plugin. So a new terminal here, and we just copy. Okay, since we are Next.js 15, okay, it works, no need to force. Okay, and now we have to set this structure. Actually, we don't really need to have this structure. For example, I don't have the source folder, I just have the app folder, but it's up to you. You can structure it like this. The structure is actually not very important. You just have to reference everything good and adapt in your case. So I will do a message and a file n.json. And I paste it here, and I will do another for the French because we will need it in French. So here, please cursor, help me translate it. Yes, that's perfect. And okay, so now we have to set up the next config. So in Next.js 15, it's now nextconfig.ts. So I will just put this here. We don't need this, and we have to import the type, and this will be perfect. Okay, now the routing file. So let's copy this file, and we have to create this folder and this file in the root of our app. Okay, we are good, but I want fr here, and that's it. So now we have to create the middleware. The middleware will actually redirect when the path is not good. So let's create it. Up. And once again, we are fr up request. So now just a request.ts in the same folder as here, request.ts up. And that's actually here that you have to adapt your path, because the message for me is just, I just have to say @message.local, sorry, @/messages, because it's in my root folder. So now we have to wrap everything in the dynamic route local. So let's do it. I will just create a dynamic route local here, and we just put everything in it, and it will be good. Okay, we are good. Now this is our local layout. We'll just copy and paste. Don't even think about the error. I will explain you what are the errors and how to resolve them. And the main page here, up, and we are good to go. So that's the end, but you will see it won't work, and I will tell you why. So let's start localhost. Let's zoom it. So now we have hello world, and if I do this, it works. So I told you it won't work, but it actually works. Why I told you it won't work? Because we have an error, and you know we don't want errors. So what's happening here? The issue is that the params are acting differently in Next.js 15. So we have to set up like this. So we have to await the param. So let's make this async. And no, sorry, it was already async. And here we need the local. Const local equals param, but we need to await it. Okay, and that should do it. Yes. Okay, so I want to show you now the other error, which is the type. So in routing, we have to set up a new type. We have to, no, that's not it, cursor. Export type local, type of, yes, routing. So now we are creating a new type, which is the type local, which is the routing. So we are telling this is our two choices, en or fr. And now our local here is type of local and auto import, and this too is type of local. And now we are good. We have no more error. And now I want to show you another error we could face. So let's say this homepage is async. So async function, I set const t equal await call to database. Let's say, I don't care. And now I have an error because I am using this, and this is for a client component. Let's say what it doesn't work anymore, and we have this error. So where is it? Failed to response. Okay, so this is a big error. Okay, so now it's the good time to show you how does it work and how to adapt, because for now I just follow the tutorial, copy and paste things, and it worked for a bit, but when we change something, it doesn't work anymore. So let's break it down. So what does it do? So first, we can see the layout. I just copy paste it, but we have here a context that is provided by the plugin. So it's here provided by the plugin. And what does it do? The context retrieves the messages that we have here in our app, the get message, and the messages are passed in the context, and we can fetch the message with the context. So what are the message? The message are here. It's all the text that will be displayed in our app. So for example, I can name it whatever I want, homepage, a title. I can do this is a JSON, I can do what I want. So welcome, I would say up another JSON, title, description. I can do like that and reference it with a dot, and we will see later how does it work. And for each language, you should have the same objects. So homepage, title, about, and homepage, title, about. And of course, every language will have different translation. So we have a context that retrieves the messages and store the messages in the global context. Now, how do we say we want this or this particular message? And that's this use translation hook that we call, that we are actually calling the context. And as you can see, I will remove the async function to remove the error. It calls the hook and say, I want the homepage data. So homepage data is all this object. Okay, and in this object, for example, we have title and about. So now, where is it, page? So now T is our object homepage. So in T, I want the title, and in T, I want the about. And let's say if I will show you just for this particular example, let's say I had welcome and a title. Welcome to the homepage, sorry for the Alt tab, and I want, so I said welcome, and I said I can fetch it with welcome.title. So of course, we will have an error in French because I set it up only in English. So welcome to the homepage, and in French, we have an error because I don't have this particular object in my French. So let's just add it to remove the error. Okay, bienvenue sur la page d'accueil, parfait. And now it displays it very well. So that's how you will structure your whole text in your site. So that can be a little overwhelming when we are used to just write every copywriting on the site. But my personal workflow is to just write normally, as I would do for just one language. Then I say to cursor, okay, this page, add it to my files, my JSON files. Cursor does it like very well. It takes like 30 seconds to 1 minute to translate one page in every language. So it's very efficient to do it like that. Don't just write the copy, then adapt the copy. Just write your page in your normal language, then ask Cursor to just create the object in these JSONs, and it will do the job very well. So now let's go back to our page that was async. So let's put it async. So the problem is that in a server component, we can't call the hook. So how do? We just fetch the data with another function that's provided by the plugin, and the function it's get translation, not use, it's get translation. And let's say here, okay, so since it's async, we have to await it. And let's break it down, let's refresh, and it works perfectly. En, and welcome to the homepage. That works perfectly. Okay, so now I want to show you how to optimize your SEO. So I will show you for now a contact page. Up, contact. I will edit here in order to be consistent. Contact, contact. Up, contact. Okay, so now we have to create the contact page. Okay, so I will redirect to the contact page, and as you can see here, I don't know, it's a bit too small. I will probably zoom in the editing, but the path is /en/contact. And if I come from the French up, it's here, it's /fr/contact. Okay, so the path will automatically adapt to have the local, so the language preference, just after the website name. And what about this contact page? So first I want to have a link to the homepage to go back and forth. Okay, so I made a link for home, like that I can navigate. So now, as we can see, our contact URL is the same in French and in English. So if I say French here, contact is the same. But actually for contact is not a problem. That wasn't a good choice of page, because contact in French and in English is the same. So let's say, for example, we have the about page. In French, it will be à propos. But let's do it for contact. We will rename it contact me or contactez-moi. So how do we do that? In the routing that you created in the folder i18n, we have to set a new path names. Okay, where is it? Here I will. So let's put a path names. And how does it work? The path name object will take first a path, so that's our contact path, and it will set up a new path. It will like transform the path. So let's say, for example, testing. When we will go here, we will see testing. And you can see it's the same also in English. When I click to go to the contact page, it's testing here in the URL. But that wasn't exactly what we wanted. We want something different in French and in English. And that's exactly what you want for your SEO. If you have some blog posts, you don't want the same slug in French and in English, but you want only one path. So how do we do that? We simply pass an object here, and Cursor already knows it. In French, we will say contactez-moi. And in English, it will be contact me. What? Okay, because testing doesn't exist anymore, so it's the error. Okay, so now we are here. We will go to the contact page, and we are in English, so we should be redirected to the contact me, and that's exactly it. And now let's say it in French. and let's go to the contact page, and we should see Contactez-moi, and that's what we got. So that's how you build your URLs to adapt in functions of your language. And my friends, that's just the beginning, because now we have to enter manually the language we want and pray for it to exist. For example, if I am German, I want DE, and oh, it doesn't exist. So how do we tell our user we have this or this language? You can choose what you want. So we want a drop-down menu. So I will create it and I will explain you how does it work. I created 3 components. First, a navbar that I put in my layout to have it on every page. And in the navbar, I just have a local switcher. So what does it contain? A local switcher. So local switcher, what does it do? It will fetch with the useLocal hook. That's another hook provided by the plugin. It will fetch the actual local, and it's in the client side, so it won't read the cookies, it will just fetch in the URL, and it will then pass it to local switchers select, and it will tell the default value is local. This is our select, and this is how we select. So this is it, and we can switch in FR or English. So actually the design is very brutal, sorry for that. So let's go to the homepage and pray for it's not better, but we can switch. And as you can see, we are now in English, and when we refresh, we stay in English, and same for the French. We are in French, and when we refresh, we stay in French. But if here I set default value to, let's say, FR, what will happen if I put it in English? It's always FR, because here the default value is the value that is displayed and in the selector. So let's just fetch the actual value, and when I refresh, it's English. And now what we are doing, so we are mapping over routing.local, and routing is actually our file here that we created, and routing.local is this array. So for each array we are routing, and we are saying this is an option, and this is why we have 2 options. So now we have to see what happens when we select it. So what happened? It's very simple. So this component, it's basically a classic select component, and I map over every object that I put, and here on selection, that's what we will be interested in, how to switch the local. So for that, I am using set transition, because I wanted to see what does it do with small internet, but I am not even obligated to use it. And okay, please correct me. Yes, I don't need this, and we should be good. Here I disable it, so that should be enough. We will see just after. So what is going to happen? The router is not the next navigation router, it's the useRouter hook again with routing. So we can see here we are exporting useRouter, and what's happening, so we are in the router replacing the path name and params by our next local, and our next local is the local that we passed in the selection. So now let's see what does it do, and we can switch. I'm very sorry for the UI, I don't know why it's like that, and it works perfectly. Okay, so now I will show you how easy it is to add another language. So remember, I told you we are here mapping over the routing.locals, and that's it. That's just how to add another language. But actually, we have just one other thing to do. So let's say we are adding the Dutch language. And here you can see our friend TypeScript tells us, hey, there is a problem. You tell me how to translate it in English, in French, but not in Dutch. So let's add it here. I don't speak Dutch, but I think it should be the same. And as we can see now, we have another option. Just by adding it here, we have another option to select. And now we should be redirected here, but we should have an error, and I will tell you why. We have an error, but as you can see, the URL is good, so that's a good thing. And what is the error is just because in the middleware, we didn't set another language. And now we should be good. If I refresh, we are not good actually, because I don't have created the de.json. So let's create it, de, and let's tell cursor how to translate it, because I don't understand. And now, yes, now we are good. So we can select it, we can go home, and this is some Dutch for hello world. And just like that, we added another language. So now I will show you one more thing, and it's very useful. And actually I struggled a bit on how to manage to handle errors in Zod, how to manage language in error in Zod, because I will show you there is a simple way, but your code will be ugly, or there is a bit harder way, but your code will be beautiful, and that's the second part that I struggled with, and I will show you that right now. Okay, so I added my form. I also designed a bit this dropdown that's much more beautiful. We can switch here and I will show you what I did. So this is the form. Where is my contact form? Here. So the contact form, I will unzoom a bit. So the contact form is just a simple Shadcn form with some Zod validation. First, I create a schema with Zod, and that's what we will be interested in, the message. Now, each error message is hard-coded in English. And so we will have a name form, we will have an email form, and a message form with at least 10 characters. So for this part, I assume you know Zod, because it's not a tutorial about Zod. For this part, it's a tutorial about how to translate the error message in Zod. You can see I used a use translation for the contact form that I added here in every language. The contact form are each label of the contact form, so in French, in English, and in Dutch. And you can see actually when I in Dutch it's the same. I don't speak Dutch, but it may be the same, but except for the submit button, which is i18n. I don't know if it's correct. It's probably correct. In French, we can see it changes also the submit button, because apart from submit, actually it's the same label. Okay, so now when we are in English, we click submit, we have normal Zod errors, and now we are in English, it's in English, it doesn't matter. But let's go in French, and it's in English, and that's not a good user experience. So how to manage that? Since we want to translate another thing, for now, just add another object. And as you can see, cursor knows we will translate validation. I love cursor. So email.invalid, okay, email invalid, in French, message requis, and no, this it doesn't work. Message min. Okay, that's perfect. So now in English, that's perfect. I really love cursor. It saves me so much time. Anyway, so now how to use this? So let's go back in our contact form. We already called use translation with contact form, but as I told you, use translation is just a hook. We can call it, and cursor knows it. Let's call validation messages to be use translation for validation, because now with validation we will call this object, and now we can use it. And how we will use it? Just in the name here. So let's say cursor works, and that's perfect. So validation message is my new object, and in validation message I want name.required. That's exactly, no, that's not it. And actually that's not good. So that's email, no, that was name dot required, no requis, and here also name dot required, and in German name dot required. So name dot required, email dot invalid, and that should be good. So now let's refresh, and we have errors. What are they? I can't actually I can't say I can't put dot here. Okay, that's a mistake. I didn't know that I can't. So now you will know. Okay, and I have to adapt here. Required, invalid. Okay, so now it should work, and it works perfectly. So now we should see the error in French. We see the error in French. Let's put in English. We see the error in English. And in Dutch, we see the error in Dutch. Okay, so that's the easy part. But that's the ugly part. Because why is the ugly part? Because your schema is here. And if you want to have a clean code, you want to organize your schema in another file. Now I will create the schema in another file, and I will import it. Okay, so I did that, and we can see we now have an error. And the error is we are not anymore in a React component. So we can't use this hook. So we have to find another way to use it. And I just created it, and I will tell you what is it and how to use it. So we have to be tricky because, as I told you, we can't use this hook because we are not in a React component. So how we will do it is we will create a function that will take the key that we will fetch here in our React component later. And what it will return every field required, invalid, and min, and that will do the job. So for TypeScript, since we don't know if the key will be displayed or not, we have to write it like that. But basically, it's just a function that we will use that will return our schema. And let's just use it. So let's get rid of this for the errors. Up. And now in here, so how does it name? Get contact form schema. So up. Get contact form schema. But first we have to import the good object in the translation. So const validate message. Okay, so that's the key that we will pass in our function. So here I love cursor. Okay, so now the type I created, actually the type, so contact form value. Contact form. Okay, that should be good. And now here. Okay, so now we should be good. So what happened? So now our form is a form that has a type of contact form value that we created here. If you're using JavaScript, you don't have to be preoccupied by the types, but for TypeScript users, this is the type that we created based on the contact form schema. And then the schema that we pass is the get contact form with the object validation message that we fetch with the hook inside the React component contact form that is actually a client component. So let's see. I hope it has worked. It should have worked. So now let's put it in English. It's in English. Let's put it in French. It's in French. And let's put it in Dutch. It's in Dutch. So that's how you translate your whole app without having to write every single page for each language. You just have to manage one file for each language, and now with the AI, you can just copy paste and say translate this, and it will do the job in less than 10 seconds. Okay guys, one last thing. I'm thinking about creating a complete course that will connect everything. You know, I want to make a really full stack course that will connect Next.js with Supabase, self-hosted or hosted, and Supabase CLI for the development, and everything on how to send mails the easy way without having to pay resend, and how to manage the perfect SEO, how to use Shadcn, how to use Zod, etc. I want to create this kind of course because I didn't find any good course that regroup everything. So if you're interested in leveling up your full stack game, I will put a waiting list in the description. You can subscribe to it to be updated when it will launch, and I think if you subscribe now, I will do a big discount when it will launch because you would be an earlier adopter, and that's my way to thank you. Thanks for watching, and see you